Stop. Before you keep scrolling, what you're about to hear explains every relationship you've destroyed, every job you quit too early, every argument that turned into something ugly, every time you said you'd be different and weren't. 3 facts, 20 seconds. Then we go deep. By age 7, your brain hardwired emotional response patterns that still fire in your adult body every single time you feel rejected, ignored, or unsafe. 68% of American adults carry at least one unresolved childhood wound, actively shaping their daily decisions. Most are convinced they've moved on. The survival strategy you built at age 9 to get through your family, you used it at work last Tuesday, and it almost cost you. Stay until the 13-minute mark. I'm going to show you the exact physiological moment your childhood hijacks your adult brain, and it will permanently change how you see your own behavior. You think you've dealt with it. That's the myth. And it's the most expensive lie your brain tells you. You left home. You built a life. Maybe you went to therapy for a while. You listened to enough Brené Brown to convince yourself you'd done the work. You tell yourself, that was then. I'm different now. Here's what the neuroscience actually shows. Dr. Martin Teicher at Harvard Medical School spent 20 years scanning the brains of adults who experienced early stress. Not war veterans, not abuse survivors, regular adults, people with your exact background. His finding: childhood adversity doesn't leave emotional scars, it leaves structural ones. The hippocampus, your memory center, physically shrinks. The amygdala, your threat alarm, gets wired to fire faster, stronger, and on less evidence. And here's what that means for you. Right now, watching this, your brain is running a background threat assessment. It's asking, am I safe? Am I enough? Will they leave? Will they laugh? Those questions didn't start in your adult life. They started the first time someone who was supposed to make you feel safe didn't. You think your reactions are yours, your jealousy, your need for control, the way you go silent when you're hurt, the way you overshare when you're nervous. You assume these are personality traits, fixed, chosen, just how you are. Dr. Bruce Perry, neuroscientist at the Child Trauma Academy, found that the brain's core relational templates are established between ages 0 and 5. Not adjusted, established. 2,000 hours of early experience wrote the operating system running your adult nervous system. The UI changed, the code didn't. That reaction you had last week when your partner said something slightly off? That wasn't about what they said. That was a 6-year-old who needed a parent to tell them they weren't too much. We spend $200 on productivity apps and $40 on cold plunge memberships trying to optimize a system that was programmed in 1997. No updates available, no patch notes, just childhood vibes running quietly in the background. You've probably seen the quiz on Reddit or Instagram. Anxious, avoidant, secure, disorganized. Most people read the results, feel briefly seen, then forget about it. Dr. Mary Ainsworth's strange situation experiments, replicated across 54 countries in 40 years, found that early attachment patterns predict adult relationship satisfaction with 75% accuracy. Your relationship dynamics at 35 were shaped by how your caregiver responded to you crying at 18 months old. Before you had language, before you had memory. If you're anxiously attached, you check texts 3 times in 2 minutes. You over-explain. You apologize before you've done anything wrong. You feel like you're always one bad conversation away from losing everyone. If you're avoidant, closeness feels like a trap. Intimacy triggers a physical urge to disappear. The better someone treats you, the more suspicious you get. You didn't choose this, but you're acting it out on your partner, your team, your kids, every single day. Stop. Real question. Right now. Think about your last serious relationship blow-up, the one that went further than it should have. Comment. Anxious if you went quiet, then over-explained, then apologized even though you weren't actually wrong. Comment avoidant if you shut down, went cold, or literally left the room. Comment both if you do different things depending on the day, because yes, that's real, and it's more common than either. I'm reading every single one, because what you comment next is going to determine exactly what the second half of this video is built around. You know that feeling when something completely normal suddenly feels life or death? Your manager asks for a quick chat. Your partner's tone shifts by 2 degrees. Someone reads your message and doesn't respond, and you go from totally fine to full spiral in about 4 seconds flat. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk at Boston University tracked 420 trauma survivors across 12 years. His finding: the nervous system cannot distinguish between a past threat and a present trigger. When your amygdala fires, it fires identically to the way it fired when you were 8 years old and something went catastrophically wrong at home. It doesn't know you're 34. It doesn't know you're in a Slack thread, not a crisis. It just knows. This pattern matches danger. Respond. That overreaction everyone keeps calling you out for. It's not irrational. It is perfectly rational. For 1998. Most people think an emotion lasts as long as the situation causing it. Fight with your partner. You'll feel it until it's resolved. That tracks. Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor at Indiana University discovered that a pure emotional chemical response, fear, anger, grief, has a physiological lifespan of exactly 90 seconds. 90 seconds. After that, any emotion that continues is you choosing, consciously or not, to re-trigger the thought that started it. Your childhood isn't keeping you stuck because of what happened. It's keeping you stuck because of what your brain automatically, instantly, reflexively thinks every time a pattern remotely resembles what happened. 90 seconds. That is literally one TikTok. You are staying angry longer than a TikTok. Your childhood trauma has better audience retention than most YouTube channels, including, statistically, this one. No judgment. I am deeply aware of the irony. You have a voice in your head, the one that says you'll embarrass yourself, that you don't deserve it, that they'll find out eventually you're not who they think you are. You've probably assumed that voice is just honesty, just being realistic about yourself. Dr. Lisa Firestone at the Glendon Association analyzed self-critical thought patterns across 1,200 adults. Her finding: 82% of self-critical statements in adults are direct replications, same words, same tone, same intensity, of critical statements made by caregivers in childhood. Word for word, tone for tone, internalized so deeply it sounds like your own thinking. That voice telling you you're a fraud? It was never your voice. It's someone else's voice, paying zero rent in your prefrontal cortex since 2003. You've read the books. You know your patterns. You've literally said out loud, "I am not going to react the way I always react." You made the decision. Then you reacted exactly the way you always react. Dr. Amy Arnsten at Yale School of Medicine demonstrated that under acute stress, blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational decision-making, impulse control, and long-term thinking, drops by up to 40%. The part of your brain that knows better becomes literally less active the moment you're triggered. Willpower requires a functioning prefrontal cortex. Triggers deactivate it. You cannot think your way out of a childhood wound using the exact brain the wound damaged. That's not weakness. That's neuroscience. Ever notice how your problems travel with you? New city, new job, new partner. Same exact dynamic. Different faces, identical pain. Sigmund Freud identified repetition compulsion in 1920. Neuroscientists at UCLA confirmed and mapped the exact mechanism in 2019. The brain actively seeks out familiar emotional environments, even painful ones, because familiarity registers as safety, regardless of whether it actually is safe. Your nervous system prefers a known pain over an unknown peace. You didn't attract the wrong people. Your nervous system recognized something familiar in them and moved toward it, because familiar felt like home, even when home was the source of the wound. Quick one. Answer honestly. What is the single most recurring problem in your adult life? Relationships, money, work, doesn't matter. Now comment the age you think that pattern started, not when you first noticed it in adulthood, when it actually started. I will read every number, because I already know what most of them are going to be, and it's almost never after 12. You've heard the good news. The brain can change. Neuroplasticity, new neural pathways. You're not stuck. And every self-help book tells you it takes 21 days to build a new habit. Dr. Michael Merzenich at UCSF, considered the founding father of modern neuroplasticity research, found that rewiring deeply ingrained neural patterns requires 66 to 254 days of consistent new behavior. Not 21. Not a weekend workshop. Up to 8 months of daily repetition before a new response even begins to feel automatic. 21 days is a marketing slogan. 254 days is the science. Your childhood patterns took years of daily reinforcement to build. They need months of daily interruption to replace. One breakthrough conversation won't do it. One realization won't do it. Consistent, repeated, intentional behavior for months will. When you get triggered, you have 2 modes: full activation, panic, rage, spiraling, can't think, or complete shutdown, numb, checked out, dissociated, just gone, nothing in between. Dr. Dan Siegel at UCLA calls the regulated space between those extremes the window of tolerance. Adults who experienced chronic early stress have a window of tolerance up to 60% narrower than the general population. The window isn't just smaller, it's faster to close. One ambiguous email, one raised voice, one moment of being ignored. This is why you're fine. Until suddenly, you're completely not fine. There's no ramp, there's no warning, there's a cliff. Because your childhood compressed the space between calm and crisis. The good news, and this part matters, the window can be deliberately expanded. Specifically, with techniques that work in real time. Here's where most psychology content, including the expensive kind, gets this completely wrong. They tell you, your attachment style is your destiny. Your childhood is your ceiling. Dr. Mary Main at UC Berkeley identified a category she called earned secure attachment. Adults who began life with insecure, anxious, or disorganized early attachment, who, through specific relational or therapeutic experiences, developed fully secure attachment patterns as adults. 40% of people with difficult early attachment histories achieve earned security. Not partial improvement, full security. The real thing. Your childhood wrote the first draft. It doesn't get to write the final one. 40% isn't a small number. 40% is nearly every other person you know who had a hard start. Your childhood patterns are not character flaws. They are survival strategies that worked perfectly for a situation that no longer exists. You are not broken. You are running outdated code on extraordinary hardware. And unlike your iPhone, you can actually rewrite the code. But here's how you do it. right now. Free. Proven. This is called somatic grounding with bilateral stimulation. It takes 4 minutes. Use it during activation, not after. Step 1. The moment you feel triggered, name what your body is doing. Not the story, the sensation. My chest is tight. My jaw is clenched. My throat is closing. This activates the prefrontal cortex. Naming restores blood flow to the exact part of your brain that went offline. Step 2. Cross your arms over your chest. Tap your shoulders alternately. Left, right, left, right. 30 seconds. This signals directly to the amygdala that you are not under physical threat. It's the same mechanism used in EMDR therapy, validated across 26 clinical trials by Dr. Francine Shapiro at the Mental Research Institute. Step 3. 4 counts in, 8 counts out. The exhale must be longer than the inhale. This activates the vagus nerve, your direct physiological off switch for the threat response. Your nervous system shifts from activated to regulated. Not because you thought your way there, because you spoke to it in its own language. It doesn't happen in a weekend. It doesn't happen because you finally understand it intellectually. It happens through repetition, through safe relationships, through techniques that speak directly to the nervous system, not around it. The people who heal don't have easier childhoods. They get curious about the patterns instead of ashamed of them. That starts with exactly what you just did in the last 14 minutes. One question before you go. What is the one pattern you've been calling a personality trait that you now think might be a childhood response? Not, I have anxiety. Be specific. What do you actually do that you now understand started before you had a choice about it? Comment it below. I read every single one, not the team. Me. And next week, Stanford researchers found that the average person makes 226 food decisions per day. Almost none of them are conscious. But that's not even the disturbing part. The disturbing part is who is actually making those decisions. And the answer has nothing to do with hunger, and everything to do with what you just learned today. That one drops next week. Don't miss it.